Okay, I think we're back now, so let's try this again.
Okay.
That's the reason why we were late this morning. We were having a couple technical issues. But hey, this is Chris, Cycle Source Magazine, another episode of Shop Talk. I'm here with my co-host Ken Coney in Colorado. And let's just start the whole show over. Here we go again.
Okay, let's do. Why not? So some sad news this week. Arlie Ermy passed. I had no idea that he was sick. I don't know if you did or not, Chris, but we had a lot of experiences with him over the years. Through Victory Motorcycles, Robert Pandia, I'm not sure if he was the champion of that or not, but he had definitely introduced Arlie Ermy to us, brought him to the Biker Fusion event that Kerry Rapp and I did several years ago. He sat there on stage, recited that entire piece to a passionate crowd. And it was, he was I only really knew him as a motorcyclist. Obviously, he did a ton of different films, but as a motorcyclist, as a human being, he was great. Did not shy away from kind of his role out there with veterans, and he's really a champion for all things good. I know he did a lot with the Glock Corporation as well, and was a representative for a lot of different things out there. So he'll definitely be missed. I know that was, I heard that and I was like, man, I'm glad I got to meet him. I'm glad I got to spend some time.
Absolutely. It's really funny, like growing up with a Marine for a stepfather, how guys actually felt about this cat. I mean, from real Marines, from real, like back in the day, Paris Island Marines, this dude was not bullshitting that role whatsoever. Like that was the class example of the Paris Island Marine drill instructor. And man, my old man used to watch that shit and just like, you could see him tear up for the fondness that he had for the Corps and, the time that he spent it and stuff. So he brought a level of reality, to all those movies that he was in as that kind of role. So I know a lot of people on both sides from motorcycle and military are going to miss that guy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, let me turn that off 'cause he's getting wild.
Easy, Chris. Jeez.
So, yeah, man, Shop Talk, if you guys are just tuning in for the first time, we've been jumping around trying to find the best time schedule. Morning leads to me making mistakes with the audio files, and my beard isn't really fixed up yet because I slept next to the dog and it was slobbering on me, and mornings are rough, but here we are.
Mornings are great, man. I believe in mornings. I do.
Goddamn Colorado hippies.
What's that? Are you gonna start swearing at me like Arlie Ermy now? You're gonna tell me I'm some scumbag parasite something or other? And I got up early this morning. Got up at 5. Seize the day. That is my
Carpe
motto.
diem. See, I'm more like the Carpe Noctem, right?
Yeah. And that's the thing. I think everybody has to figure out what their cycle is, and whatever it is that works for them. I tried the late night thing. It doesn't really work for me. I know you like coffee a lot. I do as well. But I prefer that kind of watching that, seeing that sun come up, getting after it, knowing that my workout's done for the day, and then knowing that I can get after it for the rest of the day. So it's just the way I work, man. I don't know what to tell you.
That's a tribute to the place where you live, though. I mean, honestly, if I could walk out of my door and see the Rocky Mountains and that fresh mountain air, that probably makes all the difference. As it is, there is constant gray skies outside right now. If this weather doesn't change, there's going to be a civil war in Pittsburgh. I'm not shitting.
Yeah. I don't miss that. I grew up on the East Coast, and there's a lot of gray. We have 200 sunny days a year or something here, something like that. 300 sunny days a year. I think it's 300 sunny days a year is the number that they say. So, I love the sun.
Right on.
Anyway, I think we're supposed to get into, and this was a question that I had for you, and maybe we can talk to our host or our guest later about Passion Built. But do you think, this is just something I've been kind of pondering, do you think, as somebody who is not a professional motorcycle builder, it is not what you do for a living, correct?
Yeah.
Do you think you have a different take on building motorcycles?
I don't know if I have a different take on it. I think that's something, whether it's something that you do for a living or whether you do it as a hobby, your personality as a builder or how you approach that, it's kind of defined in your actions. You know what I mean? And like for me, and this is just for me, when I approach a motorcycle build, I like to create a whole vision. Like I sit down ahead of time, I set up a rendition, I pick which direction I'm going to go, and once I set that thing down, I do not waver from my original plan or my original design. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I have my idea, I establish my lines, I establish what I'm going to go after, and no matter if I have to take apart, like the other night, if you guys were watching Facebook Live, we worked on a fender on the T-Tracker we worked on that thing for 45 minutes or an hour. And when the camera turned off, and this wasn't because we were trying to hide anything, when the camera turned off, I decided that I didn't like the fender that we were working on. I whipped it across the room into the scrap pile, and we grabbed another fender blank, and we started over. And, I mean, I learned this from a couple builders that I really admired throughout time, but there's no you can't stand there and make excuses for your work. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I think that is established in the personality of each person. I don't think it has to do whether somebody does it for a living or, that's an individual thing. But I think the cross section of builders that are invited to Passion Built this year are going to represent all ends of the spectrum as far as that goes. So I don't think there's any special perspective from them.
I think the only thing that might be different is that there's less pressure on you, because the only person you have to make happy with your build is you, because it's for you. You're not building it for a client. You're not building it to sell. So I think there might be little bit less pressure for the non-professional builders, so to speak.
Well, you know what I mean, and there's pressure in other directions too, because when you're building for a client, you have a budget. You know what I mean? Sure. When you're building for yourself, you have to find ways to do, most of the time, and most of us, you have to find ways to do stuff on the cheap. You have to find ways to cut corners on the dollar, but not on the end result. So there's that pressure. And everybody who builds a motorcycle, they have self-imposed deadlines. You know what I mean? Like making it to Daytona for a series of shows, or making it to, the Congregation show or the Hand-Built show. Everybody wants to bring their bike out at a certain time, at a certain crowd. So there's even deadlines when you're not doing it professionally. You set them up for yourself. So there's different stress either way you go, I think.
Well, and I just the reason I was wondering about it was because I was working on my bike this weekend, and I was thinking about the fact that I'm not, I'm definitely not a bike builder, but I can, take things apart and put them back together, it seems like. And one of the things that I was thinking about was the fact that, you bring a different, I feel like not somebody who's not surrounded by motorcycles all day might have a different perspective. You might, obviously you're running a motorcycle magazine, so you're surrounded by motorcycles all day, right? So their influence is whether you, recognize them or not, right? I mean, there's going to be things that are going to come in.
There absolutely is.
Yeah, but I wonder if, because you're not inundated, you're not standing there in front of a lathe or a frame or a engine or whatever it is all day long, that it kind of frees you to have those moments of like, oh yeah, I should do that, I should do this, whereas, and I don't know, there's not an answer to this. I'm just, it was just kind of something I was thinking about while I was sitting there working on my bike. I'm like, wonder if there's a different kind of mentality that happens.
I think just like us that work in the industry, and like we get so submersed in it, we take for granted that people know this or they know that or they know the history behind these things. We take those things for granted. I think when you do full-time build, that's a place where you have to, in your mind, you have to get set that that's possible. There's a pitfall there that you could get into that rut of chasing what the industry's doing, or, chasing styles of other builders. Some of the most successful builders I know today literally won't spend much time on social media, won't look at other people's pictures, because they want their style to come through pure, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And have it be their own thing. So they don't want the influence from other styles and designs and the trends and fads that are going on to creep into what they're doing.
Sure. But I mean, it seems like everything's a derivation though, right? It's like a derivative, I don't think that it's very rare that you see a bike that's it's like 100% new. You're like, whoa, that doesn't smack of somebody else's something, and or a piece here, a piece there, and so, I think for any of us to go, oh yeah, this is like, this is totally 100% new and original.
Yeah.
Except for that thing I saw in Daytona that was like a gyroscopic, like,
no,
weird.
you know what else? I wish I had a picture of this to bring up too. Did you see at our show in Daytona, there was a kid that took I shouldn't say kid, there was a guy that took one of the new Harleys, one of the new small lightweight Harleys, and he put it into a dirt bike chassis.
Cool.
That was like really new and original. That was something that up until Daytona, I hadn't really seen anybody do that, or even some of the people that I've seen try to go that way with other models, with Evo Sportsters and stuff. They didn't execute it as well as this guy. This looked like something that literally could have been a production model motorcycle, and I bet you it was bitchin' fun to ride.
I think
for sure.
If you have time at the end, there's a live video of it in our Facebook.
Oh, that's right. I'll try to pull
archives,
that up while
you
we're
might be able to
talking.
grab that.
Cool. Right on. We're running on a little bit of a schedule today because we've got 25 minutes. We're going to have Roland Sands on.
Yes, sir.
Which is awesome. Psyched to talk to him about. It looks like I think they had they had the Paris race this last weekend in conjunction with the Hippie Killer Hoedown. So we're going to be talking to him about super hooligan racing, kind of how he got into motorcycles, that sort of thing. He's got a long lineage of motorcycles in his family, so that's going to be fun. But I'm wondering if we should maybe go to, is it Clint?
Clinton.
Clinton. We should maybe get to him so we don't, cut our time with him off, and then we can always do news at the end. There's nothing that's other than the Arlie Ermy piece, in my opinion, that's like pressing news. There's a couple things here and there that I think are pretty cool, but nothing spectacular.
The big thing before we start talking to Clinton, you guys will notice over the last few weeks we've done a series on the builders that have been invited to Michael Lichter's Passion Built this year at the Sturgis Buffalo Chip. So why don't you tell everybody like what the history behind this for people who aren't aware that. Like we talk about Michael's gallery every year in Sturgis, that it absolutely sets the trend, but talk a little bit about the history of that.
Yeah, so Lichter, I believe he started, the first time he went to Sturgis was 1979, last year of City Park camping, got some just iconic photography. I could be wrong on that year. And in the last, I don't know what year this is for his exhibit, but he started doing an art and motorcycle exhibit. Started off at the Journey Museum, went to Thunder Roads, and they did it there in I think it's called the Thunderdome or whatever, that big tent. Now I think it's the Beaver Bar across from the old Full Throttle. And then it moved to the Buffalo Chip, and he's got his own hall there. And I believe it's been there for, it's got to be going on 8-10 years, something like that. And it's every year he's got a theme. Every year he's got different builders. Every year he's got different artists. This year it's people who do not make a living building motorcycles and do not make a living as an artist, but they are considered professionals. And so I think that's, Michael comes up with these great themes every year, and I think this is another great one. I'm really excited to see the bikes that end up there.
What I like most is with Lichter's thing every year, sometimes the theme is about the bike. Sometimes the theme is about the people, the culture, the community.
Sure.
Sometimes it's about the specific kind of art. Like one year it was Skin and Bones, and it was not Skin and Bones. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What was it was.
No.
So
Yeah,
that was
Skin and
all
Bones.
about tattoo-inspired motorcycle art. So whether it was engraving or the paint jobs or what have you. Then one year it was called The Naked Truth. It was the most talented builders in the entire world came in with their bikes before they go to paint. So that the flawless execution of builders who do everything out of metal before it actually gets painted, and people got to see like the level execution of a real high-end fabricator and what goes on with those guys and how much different it is than some of us that just slop some mud on stuff at the end and make it nice. But I think it really takes the temperature of where we're at with the custom culture every year, and the work he does is incredible. So we're gonna through the next few weeks we're gonna continue to interview these guys that have been invited. Lucky enough to call quite a few of them friends, so that makes it a little easier for us to reach out. But let's see if we can pull up one of these cats right now.
Hello.
Clint, here with Chris and Ken. How's it going, my man?
How's it going, fellas?
Really good.
Pretty good.
So, Clinton is a friend of mine for longer than I want to admit on live show here, but he's my Texas connection, man. Like when we go down to Texas, my man has hooked us up, put up with us, and I've watched him build some incredible motorcycles, including the one that was on our cover. We have a picture of it up right now, but man, like the Texas chopper scene is going mad. This cat is right in the middle of it, and so thrilled to see you got invited to Lichter's gallery this year in Sturgis, man.
Absolutely, thank you, man. It was an honor. That's a couple of sentences that I wasn't ever expected to hear together, I can assure you.
Yeah. Yeah. How did that happen? How did that go down?
Man, I don't know the whole story behind it. All I know is we was at the Lone Star and I guess the first inclination I had on it, I was sitting there and the guy that does my paint work, Scott with Chemical Candy Customs, was sitting there. He had a booth set up there, and he had been talking with Michael. And then I happened to walk up there, and Scott had mentioned to me that sounds like that Michael might be interested in having me at one of his shows. Well, of course, my first thought was Scott's screwing with me, why would I be in one of Michael's shows, So I didn't think no more about it or whatever. And then we was having dinner with Chris and Heather and them, and they're the ones who kind of said, hey, man, this is a real deal here and stuff. And I was like, man, so my first instinct was I need to know as soon as possible, because if this is for real, I need to get started. Like leave the show and go home and get started on this project. So
no,
well, and that's great to hear, because it really is an honor, and I think all of us who have seen that show over the years have seen a lot of people put their best foot forward and unveil bikes there, and that's really what that show is meant for.
Absolutely, and that's the thing. I've been to his show several times over the years. The shows that Chris was talking about earlier. And like you said, that Naked Truth, I was there when that one happened, and to see the quality of bikes in that form was just unbelievable. So, like I said, when this guy brought it to me, I'm thinking, I build just for my personal, just as because I enjoy doing it and stuff, and. Obviously for me, there's never a deadline or nothing. So when this got brought up, I'm thinking, how am I going to bring something of that quality to that show in this time frame?
Sure.
Right on. And listen, man, I'll tell you, Ken, this is one of the most humble men you'll ever meet in your life, because he builds incredible stuff out of his place. He's such a good person, him and his wife both. But inadvertently, he has caused a shitstorm that I have to bring up on this air today. Now, I'm not going to hold back now. He's my brother, but I'm going to tell you. So every time I come to Texas, Clinton helps me out with whatever we're doing, shows everywhere, everything. Well, he showed up with this blue motorcycle that we eventually put on the cover that we tagged Hippie Chick because of the way his girl Bobby dressed when they go out on it. And he showed up with that blue motorcycle, and everybody, and I'm talking about Jeff Cochran, Bill Dodge, like me, we all start talking about the fact that, like, man, Clinton got the longest chopper here, and damn it, he's going to make all of us go back to the drawing board and end up making long choppers to try to keep up with his ass. Well, he gets invited to Michael Lichter's, and no sooner later, and I'm putting it up on the screen right now, do I get a picture from him that has a front end of the chopper that he's going to be building for Lichter's. And look, I'm going to scroll down this screen so that you guys can see from top to bottom, this front end, this Springer front end is taller than Clinton is. And Clinton, how tall are you?
I'm probably 5'9".
5'9", and that thing's got to be over 6 feet long. well over. So here we're all talking about, yeah, we're going to come back to the drawing board with some long choppers, and he steps it up again, and now we're all like, son of a bitch.
It's going to be a 15-foot long bike.
And he don't...
It's long enough to where, I didn't even think about it till I was in Daytona, and I'm in there, so I'm sitting there having a conversation, and so we're sitting there, we're talking about it, and he was, I was showing him some pictures of the latest progress, and he said, he says, you might want to get with Michael and show him and explain to him how long the bike is.
For sure.
And I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, hey, and of course, I obviously know, the setup over there, their own boxes. So I'm like, well, surely they got a way to do that. But I was like, okay. So during the Boogie E show, I see Michael, me and him get to talking about it, and I tell him about it. And he's like, well, I don't think there'll be a problem with shipping. He said the boxes are 10 feet. And he asked me how long the bike was. I said, man, it's about 11 feet long. And he says, well, I guess we can put 2 boxes together. I'm like, okay. He said, but the problem is, he says, my booth that he shoots them in over there at the Buffalo Chip is only 12 foot. He says, I don't think I can physically shoot the bike in the area I have set up. So then it becomes, well, instead of the truck coming to my house to pick up the bike, can you get the bike to, Michael's studio in Colorado so that he has a big enough area to shoot the bike? I'm like, holy cow. Yeah, this has opened up a can of worms here, apparently.
But that doesn't suck either to come up with a reason why you got to get invited to Lichter Studio.
Well, when you do, let me know, Clinton, because that's where I am. Michael, Michael's just down the street from me. So, and as one of the guys who's jockeyed around many of those bikes, which is maybe the most hair-raising moments when you've got a bike that's 10 feet long and it's like you and 2 other guys. It's 2 a.m. Michael decides he wants to flip it around to the other side the night before the show opens, and you're like, okay, hey, I need it at the other 45. Yeah, it's those long bikes are tough, but that's the beauty of the show is Michael will not give up at anything. He wants that show to be exactly kind of his vision. Just what you were talking about before, Chris, with the way that you're looking at bikes. It's that same. He has that same outlook when he's taking pictures. He has that same outlook when he's putting his shows together, and he is, fastidious. We'll say that. That's
Absolutely.
A nice way of saying.
Absolutely. Well, Clinton, man, listen. Thank you for coming on with a couple minutes here and letting people get to meet some of the cats that are putting bikes together. And other than your ridiculously long front end, what can you tell us about the bike that you're bringing?
Man, it's I guess you would say, like most of my stuff, I like a simple, clean chopper, so yes, it's going to be a little long, but everything else is pure function. There's nothing just going to be just really stand out. My main focus this year was, and because of the time frame, I didn't want to take it, and then obviously the financial side of things, I didn't want to take a chance on just building something, and then the finished product, takes so much for paint and chrome and all that financially and stuff. So the flip side of that is so I went with everything I'm building on there hardware-wise, all the mounts, sissy bars, everything I've built was out of stainless, so that if at the end of the project, if need be, I can just polish it myself, instead of saving me a few bucks. But it's really just simple and clean, and kind of like Hippie Chick was, I wanted it something to where, yes, it's for this show, but when this show's over, I'm not one of these guys. I don't really ever have an interest in selling my bikes. For me, I build them for me to ride and enjoy. So obviously it's built to ride. So when the show's over, that's what I'm going to do. It's built for me and the wife to go out and enjoy and stuff and have another one in the stable.
I like to call that good old-fashioned addictive behavior.
Absolutely. Everybody always asks me, they're like, well, man, you're going to sell it? Or, I've already been asked about this. Well, when you're done with it, are they buying it? Is somebody buying it? I'm like, no, it's just going to get put in the shop along with the rest of them, and I'll ride it when I want to ride it. And they just look at me like, why? I'm like, that's the whole purpose of what I do is I don't have to sell them, I buy them and just enjoy them, Can't have too many.
So that leads into the question, and I'm always interested. So what do you do for a living?
I actually work in the oil and gas industry.
Okay.
I currently for the last 16 years, I was a production superintendent out in the production side of things. Jobs last summer, and now I'm more on the services side. So, and that's why I do. I really enjoy building anything. So I mainly do it like I said, I come home from what I do daily, which can get stressful at times, obviously. So I can go home, do this. It's totally different than what I do. It's kind of a stress relief and stuff. And like I said, it allows me to be able to do these things.
That's awesome.
Right on.
Right on, man.
Yep.
That's cool. Well, we really appreciate you being on, Clinton, and letting us learn a little more about you. I know I have, and when you come out to Colorado to get that bike shot, which I'm assuming will be either before or after Sturgis.
I think the way we're talking, I'm probably going to bring it out in July. I think is what it is. Just a few weeks before. Yeah.
Nice.
So
that's great.
But yeah, I'll definitely give you a shout.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, man. Well, we'll see you in Sturgis then.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me.
All right, buddy. Later on.
Thanks. Bye.
So good. So good. And for me this year, because I'm lucky enough to have a little bit of input from Michael, who'll ask me, hey, what do you think about this? Or do you know any guys that fit this kind of thing? And I got to have some input on some guys that are out there doing incredible bikes like Clinton that really deserve, a little bit of a head nod from the national scene. And without efforts like Michael's, they rarely get it. So good for him.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, and there are so many of those guys, that you and I kind of grew. I mean, a lot of people started out that way.
Yeah.
A lot of people started out like, hey, I'm doing this on the side. I'm an electrician or I'm a whatever, and they end up being bike builders.
Well, and you know what, man? Like a lot of them will never be bike builders, but, we can't deny the fact that 65-70% of the industry that we all work in and around is driven by guys who have a dream of a perfect motorcycle someday, and them and a buddy sit over a can of beer in a garage and they stare at motorcycles and talk about, well, we could do this, we could do that. That's the heart and soul that drives this, and I think that's really what Michael's going to capture in this year's showing.
Well, what's so interesting about that as well is the fact that, when I was in my garage this weekend and I had my bike all tore apart, my wife came out and she was like, what are you doing? Because, I don't have a huge arsenal of tools. I am not a mechanic by any means. And I was like, I got to get this taken care of so I can ride it. And she's like, whoa. And I realized, and my kids came out and they were like, oh, you're never going to get that together. I could just see the look in their eyes, like, you're going to have to call Ryan Boyd to fly in from California and get that thing put back together. And when it fired back up, I was like, I hadn't even kind of questioned myself, and I know that you've been doing this for a long time, Chris, but I still don't have that confidence in myself. So there's something that happens, when you go out there,
absolutely,
you fix something, and you go, oh,
hey,
I can
do
this, because I think a lot of us, probably grew up with, hey, you're not that smart, you don't know how to do this, whatever, or maybe you didn't even,
how much would it cost? How much would it cost for you to just pay someone to do this?
Sure, like, is this the best use of your time? What if you do screw this up? What's going to happen? And the reality is, you and I have both screwed up multiple things over the years, and nothing happens. It's in the grand scheme of things, it's really not that big a deal, and we make mistakes every day, but. I think there's something to be said for those garage builders out there who have that kind of dream, and they get to follow through with it. So, and it's always nice to have a guiding hand, someone who actually knows what they're doing instead of just learning by mistake.
Right on. So, hey, man, you guys that are watching us on Facebook Live, feel free to send in your comments. We have waiting in the wings to deliver them to us, the lovely Heather. And Heather, who do we got on Facebook with us today? We got anything good?
Anthony Cantarella from Daytona Beach is here. Anthony Cantarella from Daytona Beach is here. Camel's in the house. Mike Harden, Dean George, Gary Hahn. My mom was here, but she's I think she's going to watch us later, so she's having eye surgery today. So, Mom, I hope it goes well. Let us know how you do. And I think that's it. Let's see. Joe Smith Camel, he knows Clinton. He says that he's a stand-up guy, and I have to agree with him. Clinton is one of my favorite human beings, I think. He and his wife, Bobby, just great, great people. So, Camel, you're right on there.
Nice.
Right on. So we're about 8 minutes out from bringing in our guest for the week. I wanted to take a second and give you guys a little bit of tech. Anybody who's been paying attention to Grease and Gears Garage knows that last year we did a whole segment, or a whole series of segments, where we built the bike we called a Little Twisted. This year, the people from Twisted Tea have come back, and they want us to build this year's sweepstakes bike for them. So we've been working on it around the clock. It's a bike that we're calling the T-Tracker. And I thought it would be cool if anybody's interested in knowing how to set up a rear wheel, how to set up your spacing. You know what I mean? It's
nice.
A fairly simple operation when you have a list of instructions to follow. But I got a clip here to play real quick from this weekend.
So,
awesome.
I don't know how many of you out there actually set up a rear wheel for spacing on a bare frame, but it's not as hard as everybody says that it is or thinks that it is. I mean, main thing, you want to get your wheel centered in your frame. So you can use a laser. If you don't have a laser, a piece of string, weight the ends of it pretty good, and you kind of center it up in your neck. And the easiest way is to just basically stand back and draw a line with your eye. It's just like aiming a gun per se down the backbone of the bike and center the rear wheel up. And I've worked at it here a couple minutes, Chris and I have, and we've actually already got the wheel centered up. So that'll give you, I'm probably holding it off to one side in the camera, but you can get a good idea that the wheel's centered. So then we're going to basically measure our spacers. Pretty simple. If you can actually, if you have a pair of calipers, that's the best way and the easiest way. We got some digital ones here, we'll zero them out. And on this side, we already have a mount there, so we can't go through with the calipers. So I have an inside indicator, and we'll just go in here. Chris is going to bring the camera in, and we've got it dialed out right there, so we know our inside to inside measurement. And then we can come back to the caliper, and so there's our measurement for the spacer on that side. And then we're going to drop over to this side. We'll zero out our indicators again, and we can actually drop in here like this and go into that face of the bearing. And so we have a measurement from the face to the outside. So we'll go to our paper, we'll write that measurement down, and then we need to subtract the thickness of our axle plate. So we'll take that number, subtract it from the previous measurement, and that'll give us our axle spacer measurement. So we've got both of the spacers measured out. So we'll pop over here. Chris has, he's built this handy kit here from time that we use for mock-up a lot, and then there's times like this particular bike we'll just use these for spacers. So we need one that's a little over 3/4 of an inch, a little under an inch. So we'll drop in here. We've got this one. We actually need .80, and here's a .8670. So we can actually take that to our lathe, and we'll face a little bit off of that, and that'll be the perfect width for the outside spacer on the brake side. So the sprocket side, we're going to need about 1 3/4 inches. And let's see here. There we go. That should be close. Here's 1.745. We need 1.73 or 1.7515. So that one's like super close, within about 1/1000. So we'll leave that one alone, because the frame flex and stuff, it's not really going to matter that much when it's that close. So basically I'm done setting that up. I can go over, chalk this up in the lathe, face it a little bit, come back over, and we'll have the wheel centered.
So after many, many long hours, nights at RJ's shop at Cutting Edge Customs, and I want to thank RJ for all the help with this. This is about where we're at with the T-Tracker right now. It's got a killer stance going on. We've done majority of the fabrication, but we're going to take a break from this and bring in our guest from the hour, Mr. Roland Sands. Roland, how's it going, buddy? You're on the air with Chris and Ken.
Hey, what's up, guys?
How are you?
Pretty good. What's happening?
So we're fired up to get to talk to you on Shop Talk, man. Lots of stuff happening cool with the Super Hooligan Series, and it's been an amazing ride for you.
Yeah, it's been fun for sure, man. Yeah.
So for people who aren't familiar kind of with your work and how you got to where you are, can you give us just kind of the Reader's Digest version of kind of how you got to be the designer of choice for a lot of OEMs as well as the organizer of this Super Hooligan Series?
Yeah, we're on air?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. That's a pretty big question, but I've been in a lot of the right places at the right time, and had a pretty cool upbringing and learned a whole bunch from my dad growing up and how to do business and how to create things, and I think really how to do more up front than expected. I mean, that's kind of always been my mentality. Is anything I do, I try and do a better job than people expect. So
right on.
They tend to always want to come back and work with us again,
Under promise and over deliver.
Under promise, over deliver. That's my motto for sure on most of on everything we do, really. So I don't know. It always gives you an opportunity to come back and do something bigger and better, and I just try and put all my energy and effort into something that I focus on. And, we got a really good team at the shop, and all those guys come through, and, we always make sure we finish what we say we're going to do.
Well, for a lot of years, like anybody in the American V-twin custom industry has watched the development of your parts line and everything. But like Ken said a little bit ago, it's really like, not just Indian that you're most well known for now, but man, manufacturer after manufacturer has you involved in designing parts and concept bikes, and the list of things that you can attribute to your career in this is incredible.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I really don't. I try not to stop and think about it too much because, as soon as you start celebrating what you do, you kind of don't look at the future. So, I think because I came up in the custom bike industry and, really the custom Harley industry is where I came up, and I was road racing at the time and designing custom Harley parts, I remember there was a time where we were like, well, how much will these guys spend on wheels, And we're like, well, let's just design just the craziest set of wheels we can design. And, I kind of started from scratch and designed like a new forging, like crazy radius forging. We came up with these contour wheels, and they were like, I don't know, they were like almost $6,000 a set.
Wow.
And it was like, how far can we push this? This is crazy. These guys, they love to spend money on their motorcycles, and so it allowed me to design, to go above and beyond and put a lot of effort and energy into it. And I think now, like, I look at it and I go, okay, now what level of design can I bring to something and make sure it's cost effective to produce?
Yeah, right on.
Sure. Well, because originally, did you started with PM? Is that right? Because I mean, that was family owned at that point, right?
Yeah. I was working with my dad at PM. I was the VP of design there while I was racing, actually. So I'd come home from racing, and then I would design Harley parts. It was a trip.
And so was the racing like kind of a way for you to still be involved in the industry, but a little bit of a, because it's a departure from where your family came from. I mean, they were V-twin centric, correct? Or am I wrong?
I'd say yes and no. I mean, I talked to my dad about this the other day, and he started building. The first thing he built was a spindle hubs, and he was hand building spindle hubs on a manual mill.
No kidding.
So that he could lace up disc brake hubs. So he's making disc brake hubs and replacing drum brakes with disc brake hubs, and that was his first product.
Cool. That's awesome.
So he was predominantly a performance-minded guy, and he built Harleys, I mean, one of the first custom bikes he built was an Indian. It was a 47 Chief.
Oh man, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and he crashed it and he rebuilt it again. Like, he built it twice. It's a pretty cool story, but yeah, I mean, he was doing a lot of really cool stuff and building like turbo drag bikes and sand drag bikes and hill climbers and Bob Corral jet bikes and kite cycles, and he was doing all kinds of crazy stuff, you know. And I kind of came up around that. It was never just V-twins. It was never just Harleys. My dad was a sport bike rider. He liked to go fast. He was a drag racer. You know, took me to every type and form of racing I could imagine, from drag boat racing, flat track, road race, speedway, Grand Prix races, motocross. I mean, I got to go to all that stuff when I was a kid. So it all definitely stuff.
Pretty lucky there.
It was cool. It was cool. I look back and I go, shit, man, I had a pretty cool upbringing. I spent most of my weekends at racetracks.
Yeah.
Well, and that's something that carries through now. Like, you know, racing during the time that the generations have switched, you know, from X and Y and now coming into the millennials, racing really started to take a hit. Like, the drag races in Sturgis had all but disappeared. The flat tracks were getting, you know, less and less attended. And then it seemed like out of nowhere, you launched this Super Hooligan thing. And tell everybody where that started for a minute and how that became.
Oh, man. That started out with Brad at Orange County Speedway, or Costa Mesa Speedway. And that was like us basically like getting the most inappropriate bikes we could on the dirt. So at the time I was riding, the first bikes we raced were Harley Softails. So these things were like 700.
Oh, Jesus.
And I mean, and it's funny because, like, you know, everyone kind of looks at us and goes, oh, you know, you guys you're bringing pros into ride and things like that. And it's like, well, not really, you know, like the way this whole thing started was riding really inappropriate motorcycles. And then as, you know, we kind of went, people looked at Costa Mesa as like, well, maybe I'll start building more serious bikes. So people started building like Sportster flat trackers, which are basically the 883R class in AMA, you know?
Yeah.
Real similar to that concept. So everyone started building those bikes, and those bikes became hooligan bikes, and super hooligan bikes became every make and model of bike, you know, because we wanted to include everybody. I mean, originally at Costa Mesa Speedway Harley night, it was Harleys only. Then we started sliding some other bikes in there, and as we started, as we said, well, this is something. Maybe we should take this, you know, not just to Costa Mesa. Let's try and take it some other places. And there was a following of guys, you know, probably, I don't know at the time, maybe there was like 15 or 18 core guys who were really into it. And then it just started growing from there. You know, the more races, and now there's races all over the country, and there's races in Europe, and there's hooligan races all over the world.
Yeah, which is killer. And we're talking, what, 3-4 years ago, or is it more than that?
No, this is 10 years ago.
Wow.
Costa Mesa Speedway, when we started going out to Costa Mesa Speedway, it was 10 years ago. So
no kidding.
And I mean, I didn't have any intention of it becoming like a serious thing. And I mean, I don't even claim it's not all, you know, it doesn't all have to do with us. I mean, every guy who stepped up and built the bike had a part in the growth of it. And that's the only way it grew, from all the individuals like coming out and riding and then introducing it to their friends and their friends getting on bikes. I mean, one of the coolest things about it is that I've seen guys who are real, who are, and I don't want to say beginner riders, but guys when it came to racing were beginners. You know, they were all rookies, and I've seen a lot of those guys become really, really good motorcycle riders through hooligan racing. I mean, amazing riders where they've just grown and grown, and you know, it's a unique craft riding a hooligan bike, but a lot of these guys have really stepped up to the plate.
Well, that's something that, you know, I've been personally giving you credit both on the magazine and, you know, different things that we've been involved with when I get interviewed about, you know, what's new and hot in motorcycling. The greatest thing that you did, man, like both from the participation side and even from the spectators, hooligan racing really brought excitement back, you know, because all of a sudden it was just average guys going out on the track, doing this stuff. You didn't really need to have a history of the sport. You didn't have to have the knowledge of every single rider and what their number was and who their team was. You could just go out and root for the guy that was on the track leading the pack. And it really based this whole thing again. But I can imagine, and I sort of got the impression early on when this thing really started to grow, it wasn't all love and puppy dogs to begin with. I imagine you got some ruffled feathers from the pro ranks of this. Am I right?
Yeah, but I don't care about that.
No, right on. The only reason I bring it up
pros
is
are the pros. Flat track's pro flat track. I mean, those
right.
guys, they're specialists like any other sport. And this is not about pro riders. This
right.
isn't about. I mean, although we've had some guys who are really talented ride, like Joe Kopp.
That was the baddest. That was the baddest watching Kopp race with you guys. I loved that.
Dude, the guys, and to see him come in and actually risk it, because there's some guys out there pretty wild. But that's kind of the difference in this last year, is that we had a series, we had 10 races, and you're watching these guys develop and become better riders,
Yeah.
and you're watching them come out and improve, and all of a sudden they're on the track and they're racing with a Joe Kopp.
Right.
Like actually scrapping with a Joe Kopp. Like
how cool is that?
Getting passed back. And I mean, as a rider, for me personally, I don't think there's anything cooler than being able to race with somebody who you respected your whole life, as a rider.
Absolutely.
And I'd rather do that than win a race. I'd rather do that than win a race that wasn't stacked. I'd rather go out and battle with the guys that I respect, because that's what makes me feel good as a motorcycle rider.
Well, the whole reason I brought this up about the possibility of ruffled feathers is a testament to, you guys sticking to what you were doing, and you won over the whole industry with the direction that you took this, to the point that now, this year you're launching a thing that it interacts with AFT pretty well.
But yeah, we've thrown races with AFT. Last year we did 2 races with AFT. And I mean, this year we're not doing as much with AFT, but AFT has they've reapproached me about doing stuff again.
Right on.
I think they just see the value in what we bring to the table. And, those guys they're getting pretty smart about their program, and their flat track programs grow. And I really, really want it to keep growing, and anything I can do to help them, I would do, I mean, it's the core of the sport. It's where the heart of the sport lies. These guys put their life on the line every weekend out there racing, and they deserve a tremendous amount of respect and support of the industry, in my opinion. So, we're going to do what we can to keep it going for them. And if we can help feed that sport in any way and, bring people to the table, create new fans. I mean, if anything, that's what we're trying to do, is create new fan bases. We're taking our racing where it hasn't been seen before. We're throwing a race in San Francisco on the Bay this year at Pier 32. We did Moto Beach Classic on the beach. We're just trying to take racing where it hasn't been, take racing to the people, because when you do that, you're going to create new fans that never would have been there before.
And I think you're doing that successfully too. But go ahead. I'm sorry, Ken.
Yeah. No, that's all right. I think that's one of the things that you brought up, which is, it's kind of about that community. It's less about the race, right? It's more about the camaraderie. And the fact that, one of the things that you brought up that I think is really interesting is the fact that, it's making people better riders. And I think by putting people on the track, it makes them more interested in racing. I know it did for me. When I went and first did my first track day and I wrote about a magazine, it gave me a huge amount of respect for a sport that I hadn't really paid that much of attention to, and getting out on the dirt and trying to slide bikes around, it really makes you realize how difficult it is. And so it really does kind of, provide a community and, grow the sport. And so I think that that's great.
Yeah, I kind of forget. I don't know if I forget what it's like, but as a racer, when you're developing your skill set and you're coming up through the ranks, it's a real cool feeling as you progress, and even if you progress a little bit slow, you're still improving, and that's something that just feels really good, to a human being. I mean, we all have our things that give us self-worth, and riding a motorcycle well, for some people, really, really does. I don't know. It just it's always made me feel really good about myself. Like I makes the beer taste a lot better at the end of the day. I'll tell you that.
Right on.
Nice.
So listen, I want to remind everybody real quick while we're talking with Roland that from Facebook Live you can throw your comments or questions up, and Heather will be bringing them in. We are on the phone with Roland Sands Design, and talking about the Super Hooligan Race Series this year.
So can you tell us how many races do you have this year, and how can people see more about the race series? Where's the best place to go?
We've got 10 races on the calendar, and a lot of them are in California this year, almost all of them actually, because we didn't do as many of the AMA races. So I wish we had more races not in Cali, but it's just that's been where all the events have been popping up. And but if you want to come see one of the races, you can go on the website. It's rolandsands.com or superhooligan.com, and you can check out the schedule. And we've got riders points, and you can check out rider bios, and there's a lot of information on there as well. Check on our sponsors. I mean, we've had great sponsors this year. India Motorcycles has been really key in getting this thing launched. Dunlop Tires has been a huge sponsor for us. Motul Oils, who we have a new oil line with, actually a new V-twin oil line that we're launching. Canon Filters, who's been a longtime partner of ours, and then we've got Law Tigers is coming in, and they're doing a cash prize for the best crash of the weekend. I think is appropriate for a law.
So I got your schedule up real quick right now, and like one of the things I dig, man, is like there's at the one show at the Hippie Killer Hoedown, it switches between track environments and stuff where you guys just go in and put it right in the middle of something that's going on.
Yeah, I think if we can help make another show better, bigger, and we can bring more different eyes to the racing, that's kind of the goal. So, it's not like we're racing. I don't really want to go put all these guys on half miles.
Right.
And not that they couldn't. I mean, these bikes and the level, I mean, all the guys in the mains, they're all capable of riding a half mile and doing it somewhat safely, just as safe as anybody else. They're used to banging into each other and crashing into each other, and they're used to riding real close now. They don't. A lot of these guys aren't making the mistakes that they used to make. So it's been like just watching the progress, and but for us, the short tracks seem to be the most fun, easy to watch. Guys crash, and it's no big deal most of the time. They slide out, they fall down, and of course that's what spectators like to see, a little bit of everything. They want to see a good battle. They want to see a couple people fall down. They want to see mayhem, and they want to see victory and triumph. And with Hooligan Racing, I think you get all of it in one space. You get the show. Yeah,
for sure. Well, I think one of the things that anybody on the outside that's been watching Roland Sands Design and sees the Super Hooligan branding, I'm a marketing geek, so but you guys just nail it every time with your design. Who did the Super Hooligan Greatest Show on Dirt design for you?
That kind of came around in the shop. Me and my art director were just looking at a bunch of ideas, and then I kind of compiled a poster idea together real rough, and then we gave it to a guy named Ryan Quickfall, and he did the art for us.
It's so killer. I mean, and that's one thing that you can always rely on with all of your packaging and everything. You're obviously very intentional about it, and that's not always the case in this industry. But I think it really speaks to the kind of rider that you guys are looking for. So, hats off.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny is like the art has been a huge part of it, and a lot of people don't really get that, but when you create a really cool poster or look for your event, it really means something to people, and just like anything else in the world, if it's designed and it looks cool, then people tend to like it more. They think it sticks for a lot longer.
No, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And I mean that theme, even we have a video we're going to play here in a little bit of it's the same theme, the Greatest Show on Dirt from your website. And even that theme carries through, man. And like the way you guys put that together, you're really expressing, the differences in a generation of this culture. you know?
Yeah, I mean, art has a lot to do with this modern culture and the kids these days. And, I mean, music, art, culture, putting all those things together, handmade culture. And that's what a lot of these bikes are. This is all basically garage built motorcycles for racing. They're not factory teams. And that's cool. That's special. That brings like an interesting group, to the races. I mean, even the Hippie Killer race just had a really cool crew of people that came out to the races.
Yeah, that was cool. That was cool to see you guys involved in that. Cuddy's been a long time friend, and I was so glad to see, something else being added to that for him.
Yeah, we did it last year, and the track was a little rougher, and this year they kind of got the track a little bit more dialed. Still pretty loose and a little bit dusty, but I think the guys had a lot of fun, and it was definitely the photography was really good.
Nice. Did you get out there and mix it up at all? You been racing at all?
No, I've been out, man. I kind of made a commitment not to race for a little while, because I got a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
And so, as the story goes, about 8 weeks ago, I was out riding snow bikes, timber sleds, which is a dirt bike with a snow track, and I broke my tibial plateau pretty bad. Ooh. So, yeah, I'm on my 7th week out of surgery right now.
Oof.
Still walking with a cane.
Well, man, that's something Ken and I talked about in pre-production too. Was so many of the pictures I was coming up with you were you on crutches or you with a cane. I was like, God, this cat beats the hell out of himself.
Man, yeah, I've done it my whole life, man. I mean, just racing. I road raced for 10 years professionally, and I kind of I retired from road racing, and I didn't race anything for a really long time until 2011. So 2002 to like 2010 or 11, I didn't race anything. In 2011, I went and I rode, of all things, I rode a XR 1200 in the at Brands Hatch in Europe for one of those Harley races, and it was like the most competitive Harley series in the world, and I just chucked myself right in the middle of riding one of those things. And yeah, I was like, holy shit, this is different from riding a 250 Grand Prix bike.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow. But it did all right. I ended up getting 6th, out of like a pretty stacked field, like 40 guys. So I was really happy with the weekend, but I didn't race again after that until Del Mar, or excuse me, not Del Mar, until Costa Mesa.
Nice.
Well, man, I'll tell you what, I was fortunate enough to be one of the journalists that got the opportunity to ride the Indians that you guys prepared for the Indian Scout 60 launch, and they were your actual Super Hooligan bikes from Indian, and man, like that made me such a fan of that motorcycle. They took us out to a dry lake bed and just let us wind those things wide open, dude. It was so much fun.
That's cool, dude. Did you do that after Super Prestigio?
Yeah, yep. It was an early morning call, and it was a special opportunity. And out of this entire field of journalists, it was like me, Dane Gingerelli, and one other kid actually got our asses out of bed in the morning to go do it. But I was like, dude, I'm gonna get a chance to ride these bikes. There's no way I'm missing that. No way.
Yeah.
I don't care if it was 4:00 in the morning we had to leave.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That was a cool opportunity. I mean, that's the rad thing about those bikes. Really, we kind of put anybody on them, and they can go out and have a good time.
Yeah, you guys set them up super good too. That was a lot of fun.
Oh, thanks, man. Thanks. Yeah, and they really haven't changed too much.
Yeah,
we haven't done a huge amount to them since then. We just really been riding them, and I mean, we have put these motorcycles through hell. Each one of them's been upside down, and
I know. I got a picture I keep putting up, and I think it's from Mama Tried or something, because it looks like a cement floor, but it's you just completely sideways with the bike sliding across the floor, and you guys did in the videos I've watched to prepare for the show today, just like you said, upside down, bikes crashed into other bikes, that the bikes are entangled with one rider, the other rider's gone, and the bikes are still going down the track. Like it's not a parade you're doing out there, that's for sure.
No, I mean these guys are serious, man, and you know that's the really cool thing about it is how much everyone stepped it up and how fast and how good everybody's riding, and they've gotten a lot more serious. But at the same time, there is this friendship and camaraderie, and you know everyone pretty much not everyone's good friends, but pretty much everybody knows. They all know each other, and a lot of them are really good friends. A lot of them are buddies, you know. And I enjoy pretty much everybody that we race with. They're all good people.
Nice. Right on. Do you have a race this year that you're particularly looking forward to? I know for me, the TT is always a blast.
Oh, Buffalo Chip.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's going to be good. I mean, you know, Moto Beach last year to me really was the culmination of all that we wanted to put into an event. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. That's in October in Huntington Beach at Bolsa Chica State Beach. And then the Moto Bay Classic is going to be at on Pier 32 in San Francisco. That's going to be really fun. Finally getting able to throw like a really cool event in the Bay. We're going to do an asphalt oval. So that's going to be, it'll be our first time racing an asphalt oval. We've ridden them before, but it'll be the first race. And we're going to throw an event there with the police. So
wow.
It's going to be really cool. The police are doing like a kind of Gymkhana event there.
Oh, right on.
Nice.
And then we're going to do a thing called Beat the Cops. Which is like right?
Okay, I'm in.
We pitched it to them, and they liked it and said that we're totally down. So what we're going to do is set up 2 identical Gymkhana courses, and you'll race against the police.
Nice.
So I'm scrolling through some pictures right now from last year's Moto Beach Classic, and you know a bunch of our people were out there from the magazine. But Kiwi Mike raved about this event. He was absolutely in love with this. But you know, just from the pictures, what a time.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, I was stoked Mike came out, man. He brought some great motorcycles out, and you know, I've known Mike for a really long time. He's a really cool guy.
Yeah.
And you know, we were able to bring guys like Mike out, and we're able to bring so many kind of new custom builders out, and all the racers. We had a surf competition. We had a drag race, an invite drag race on BMW 9Ts. You know, Indian supported the flat track, so we literally built a short track in the middle of the parking lot at Bolsa Chica. Like, the sand was just like 10 feet away.
Right on.
You know, and the surf comp was right out in front. So everything was in this really like small area. And then we had some great bands play. We had great music as well all day. So there was never a dull moment. And that's kind of like what our events, what I'm pushing to do is make our events that we throw like very much about just everything all at once, but have it be really the best people throwing it and the best people involved. So it just makes it super fun, and you know, you're never bored.
Right on.
Right on. Cool,
yes,
man.
Sir.
Well, we really appreciate. We know you've got stuff to do, and we really appreciate your time. We really appreciate taking this time this morning and talking to us. And everybody should get out, check out their Super Hooligan race that's local to them. If not, get on a plane, go check one out. They're lots of fun.
Get on a plane. I love how he says that. Just get on
jump
a plane.
on a plane, dude. No worries.
We're a motorcycle show. You're supposed to say, get on your bike.
Get on your bike, bro. Yeah, take a ride, man. Take a ride. Take an adventure.
Right on, man. Well, like Ken said, super stoked that you took some time with us this morning. You know, we've been big fans of this, watching how you're adding, you know, the good old-fashioned excitement and energy back into this. We give you huge props for that, you know, for what it's worth for a couple old guys.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. Thanks. I mean, we work hard at doing it every day, and you know, we've got a great group of people supporting us, and you know, it's definitely not only me. I mean, I got Cameron Brewer, who's been just a huge help in making all this happen. He's really passionate about flat track and about hooligan racing, and you know, my guy Dan. I have a new guy, Dan, at the shop, who's Dan Hartloff, who's my new events manager. So he's been pushing, and you know, my sister, she's a huge help in all this. Summer Hoover, that's my sister, and she's my general manager. So just a great team, man. I'm stoked to work with everybody, and yeah, keep doing it.
Right on. All right. Thanks again, Roland. Have a good one.
Thanks, guys.
Later on, buddy.
Bye.
See ya.
Okay. That's awesome. I love hearing people that are doing this stuff, and you don't know quite what to make of it until you actually get to sit down and talk to them. And there's a guy right there. Like anybody who's going at it hard enough that he's breaking bones and trashing motorcycles. That's a cat that's doing this from the heart. So
yeah, super passionate about it. That's great.
Before we're gonna tie up a couple loose ends with the news. But Heather, what do you have from Facebook? Anything for us?
Athena is in the house. I keep shutting my microphone off. I get the sneezies. Athena is in the house. Hey, Athena, we're going to see you in a couple weeks. I'm super excited about that.
Here, wait a minute. I got to actually have a picture of her to put up because she's going to be with us in Leesburg.
Right on. I'm excited about one of the segments she's doing because we pride ourselves with Grease and Gears Garage from covering everything from the brand new rider all the way up to somebody that's fabricating their own bike. She's going to be doing a segment on like introductory to motorcycles, like the basic things you need to know, the basic tools you should have, how to pick up a motorcycle. And it's a segment that she does, I believe, at her local Harley dealer, and she's going to bring it to the Grease and Gears Garage stage in Leesburg. So I'm excited to bring that to some of our new followers and new riders.
It's kind of going to be modeled after Harley Davidson has been throwing those women's garage parties, and she's done several of these in conjunction with Harley dealers, so it'll be a good time. She's also going to be doing a 101 on wiring a motorcycle.
Where was she when you did the War Pony?
I know. Well, that wasn't 101. That was advanced wiring. Don't make a mistake about that. But yeah, we're super stoked to see her.
Nice. I think it's great.
Let's see. Doug Wothke is in the house. I think we should have Doug on sometime. He's a Cannonball rider. He was just, I think, in Arkansas doing some land speed trials on a 78-year-old Harley Davidson.
He raced Sons of Speed.
Yeah, and he's got an amazing collection of motorcycles from what I hear. And I'm hoping in our travels this year, we might be able to check out his new location. Buckshaw from Tennessee Motorcycles and Music Revival is in the house. Jeff Quilty is in the house.
That thing, real quick, Buck's event coming up here in October, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Bill Dodge from Blink Cycles puts together a invited builder show, and dude, I'm on the inside hearing about a lot of the builders that he has coming out this year. Super, super stoked about that.
Nice.
That's
a lot of dead air.
Right. Sorry. I was looking at my...
Who's
I need to get a stand for my iPad so I'm not looking down. Joey Chop's in the house, and he says, and I quote, "This is good shit. I dig it."
Right on.
So yeah, and I think we're good there. I think we got caught up pretty quick.
Nice.
I think a lot of people are watching and not necessarily chiming in because they're sneaking it in under the boss's watch.
Ever.
So I mentioned before, but I'll say real quick, we're going to be in Leesburg in a couple weeks here, April 27th, 8th, and 9th. We will be doing the full complement of Grease and Gears Garage. Athena's going to be on hand with us, obviously. We talked about that. One of the things I'm most excited about, Barry Wardlaw from Accurate Engineering is also going to be with us 2 days. He's going to be doing a 49 panhead teardown, top end one day, bottom end the other day. If you ever wondered what you need to look for when you start to tear a motor apart, Barry's going to cue you up for that. Go to their website. There's tons of stuff going on in Leesburg.
So real quick, I want to thank Progressive Motorcycle Insurance because they are the reason that we get to bring Grease and Gears Garage to Leesburg Bike Fest.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much to Progressive. And they're going to be bringing us to a couple places.
Is Ken making faces?
No.
No.
Okay.
Move on.
All right, moving on. So we showed
Did your dog just take a dump behind you?
We showed you the progress that we have on the T-Tracker. We will be working on this motorcycle live on stage at the Grease and Gears Garage in Leesburg. Actually going to be building the seat pan, maybe doing some exhaust stuff by then. So Leesburg's going to be hopping.
I have to make a confession here. When I saw the mock-up of this bike, which you always do when you build a bike, I wasn't overall digging it, but I really like it now.
Oh, it's going to be fun. That's a fun bike.
I think it's going to be good. I like it.
Nice. Whose front end is that?
It's actually Voodoo Vintage, and
okay,
this was the front end that was on my board to death bike, and we needed a front end for mock-up because this is the kind of front end that we want to use. So while we were at Cutting Edge Customs this weekend, we stripped this front end off of my completed beautiful motorcycle, son of a bitch, and we used it on this for mock-up. But it looks really good, so that's what we're going at. Couple neat parts on this, man, is the tank from Lowbrow that we scored. We put some of our own dressing on it, the new wraparound oil tank for Hardtail Sportsters from Lead Sled, and killer wheels from Metzler. Thanks to all those companies for helping us make that happen.
And I just have to say, I don't think it's in the picture. I don't have my glasses on. But you made a killer custom battery box with the TT logo on it. And I like it. I think it's cool.
Yeah, I don't see it anywhere here, which is strange because we were super stoked about that too. Oh, it's way down in the corner. Let me see. Nice reaction time, Chris.
Hey, well, I kind of threw that at you.
You can almost not see it, but
Everybody
it's fun.
can be perfect.
I mean, that's the deal. Like you were talking earlier about the passion built. You know, it's so cool working with a group of guys that when we get fired up about something, it doesn't matter how many hours it takes to do it. We'll sit there and screw around with something until we have something that we really dig. So, couple other events to talk about real quick coming up in the short of it. Finally, I have the right artwork for Bama Swap and Drag, April 21st, 2018. Flashlight Start Drags, 100% payback, vendor spots, one of the coolest events. You know, Rick Cycle Parts and Violent Choppers puts this on. Always a good time. Roadside's always there. We never get to make it ourselves, but I'm told it's a hell of a deal.
Nice.
Mad Stork, his annual Hogs for Hope is going to be going on April 29th. Rain date May 16th or May 6th. This is, you know, Ken puts this on for how many years now? What's the annual of this? 10th annual, and raises money for the Ronald McDonald House. Really, really cool that he does this. I know it's a ton of work.
It is, and you know, I have to give him a lot of credit. He's a full-time firefighter, and he's a photographer. He does shoot for us occasionally, but he takes his time and he puts together this show every year. And the majority of the proceeds do go to Ronald McDonald House. He also has some other charities that he throws into, like you'll see Aiden, excuse me, the Aiden Jack Seeger Foundation is on there, and they do it all through their local fire department, which I have to give them so much credit. They actually added a bike show last year for the first time. They're going to be doing it again this year, where Cycle Source will be giving a trophy, and I think the winner of the Cycle Source Award will get a feature in the magazine. So if you're in the area, the Yonkers area, please support this.
Yeah, good people.
It's a great cause. Good people put it on, and it's much appreciated.
Yeah. And if you haven't, you should go follow Mad Stork on Instagram. Just look up Mad
trip.
Stork. He's got great pictures.
He does. One of my favorite things about him is he captures the people of our culture so well.
He really
does, and I have to give him a lot of kudos for that.
Okay,
moments in time.
In no time at all, it's going to be July, and Gettysburg Bike Week will be happening. This is one of our favorite events. We're all involved in it.
Indeed. I get to see you guys. I know I'm going to see you at least once a year.
Yep.
We're going to be in person, so that's always nice. Yeah, there's some good stuff going on this year. They just announced Lita Ford, Jackal, Parmalee, Wall of Death.
That's one of the coolest things, man, that they're bringing.
American Motordrome. So they're going to be there. They're going to be set up inside. So as long as you buy a ticket, you can go and watch them, and all you have to do is tip them to go in, which is great. Cherry Bombs, Gin Gypsies are going to be slinging drinks. Jack Shit's going to be there.
I love that you could say Jack's name right there. It's an inside joke.
Yeah, Jack Shit.
We could say it on this show, that's all.
Yes, we can. And yeah, it's always a great time. Anybody that's in that area should really check it out. Tickets are like $35, I think, for a 4-day pass. I mean, it's dirt cheap. It's well worth the travels. We put on a bike show there. We meaning Cycle Source, not me. And we're gonna do mini bike races this year.
Yes.
Yeah, so if you have a mini bike, bring it, because it's open, right?
Yeah, open class mini bike racing.
Sweet. Yeah. If you live close by, bring your mini bike.
We should actually get something up on their website that maybe we get some advance registration so we just know how out of hand that thing is going to be.
Oh, it's going to be out of hand.
Well,
Come
you
on.
figure Tim Stull and Kool-Aid live like 2 minutes down the road.
Jesus,
so
I know.
that in and
Yeah.
of itself will prove to be entertaining.
Well, and then Franklin Church Choppers, he's going to be bringing out his...
Yeah, that's not fair because he has
stable.
one that like runs on alcohol and it has boost and that's bullshit.
That's going to be great.
I think he's got two
Tom's
like that.
the-
Maybe we can borrow one.
Yeah, Tom's good, dude. It's going to be fun.
So, a couple things to run through in the news real quick before we lose you guys here in the motorcycle industry. And let me try to. I don't know what's happening with my news page, Ken.
What?
I'm out of control.
Me? I'm not at the controls. My hands are
right here. I said I'm out of control.
You're out of control.
I can't keep it
yes,
together.
I'm not on the controls.
You're out of order. Everybody's out of order. You couldn't handle the truth.
That's right.
Okay, so Sweden's Husqvarna releases a new line of street bikes in the U.S., defying drop in motorcycle sales. I actually got to see this. We got to see this in EICMA, right?
Oh, yeah, we did.
Yeah, and there was hints of what was going to happen with it, but super, super neat-looking motorcycle. And, I mean, I've been a fan of Husqvarna forever, like since the old, black and gold and red and gold 125s and 250s.
You still go down to low jacks and press your face against the glass, hoping for one.
I do. One of these days, I'm going to have one. But,
Nice.
Entering the street bike world, this is something new. I believe the direction that a lot of the American motorcycle scene is making today, the change that they're making, this is going to fit very well. So, great things going on over at Husqvarna.
Any idea of MSRP? Do they have that on there?
Let's see. I should have had that off the top of my head, shouldn't I?
Nah, just 3
Powerful
curveball.
bike.
Sorry.
701 comes with a 692 cc engine, 75 horsepower. 401s come with 375, 43 horsepower. No, I don't have shit. I'm completely
That's all right.
ill-prepared to answer that question.
That's
I just like it. And
All
Heather
right.
will tell you that's my downfall often. I like that.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how much it costs. I like that.
So I'm going to let you bring the next one in. That's Harley Davidson's social media campaign to celebrate the 115th.
Yeah, so they're doing, they're handing over their, which is always an interesting proposition, they're handing over their social media every Monday up until the 115th. Hashtag Motorcycle Monday, I believe, is what the hashtag is.
Yep.
This week they had, gosh, I wish I could tell you the guy's name. But
I think
it was
it's
nobody else.
Milo Ventimiglia.
Yeah, wait a minute. Heather can tell you the name,
I
and
don't
she
know.
can tell
I
you
don't know
all
who this guy
about
is,
him.
But you obviously think,
Here.
you
I do,
obviously know
because
something about him.
They absolutely probably won over every woman in America with yesterday, because Milo Ventimiglia is one of the stars of the show This Is Us, which I think everyone watches. It is one of the greatest shows on television. It makes you laugh. It makes you cry. So it was a smooth move on Harley's part, especially for the female market, because it is such a good program.
Yeah, and I knew as soon as she was like, "Oh my God, it's the guy from This Is Us." I'm like, "Mm-hmm."
Really?
There's
But-
taking the pulse right there.
No, yeah, and it's not because he's hot or attractive or anything. It's just such a good, heart-wrenching, true to life
It's
show.
not because he's fat?
No, he's real. I'm sorry, Milo, but you're not.
Whoa!
Oh,
But it's a good program, and it just.
ladies and gentlemen, my wife. Right
Hey,
there.
I'm honest. I'm sorry.
Man, I
What-
think that there's probably a lot of people out there that might disagree with you. He looks like a very fine-looking fellow.
So, I'm moving on from that. The neat thing about this is they actually did this. What was yesterday was the first one of these.
It
that
was
had
Monday.
him on. And like seriously, they just give over the social media feed to him, and there you go. So kind of neat. People from different walks of life and stuff. And there was old Milo walking through. I think the motorcycle catalog in the museum, right? Was the
I
one
believe
shot,
so.
Picking out which bikes were his and.
My mother just corrected me. He is hot. Glad your surgery
there
went
you
well,
go.
Mom.
There
Love
you
you.
go. Right on. So
Okay. For the two 401s at $6,299, and the Svartbilen 701 will be $11,999.
And this is back to the Husqvarna
Husqvarna
street bike.
Sorry, I couldn't just let that go.
I know. I'm sorry.
We're journalists trying to find truth in the world.
What was the price on the first one?
$62.99.
Wow.
And see,
that's great for a new rider.
And there you have an example of the shit that I'm talking about. The American motorcycle manufacturers need to pay attention to. That is the price of an entry-level motorcycle. You know, and I'm sure what Husky's bringing is not entry-level quality.
BMW, their 310 is $3,000.
Really?
Yeah, $3,500 maybe.
And that's, again,
It's an entry level. Yeah, it's like
here
a
you
little
go.
entry level. Looks like a BMW. I'm gonna, before I have to be corrected by somebody, I'm gonna look it up. You keep talking amongst yourselves.
So what'd you say it was? The BMW 310?
Yeah.
That just makes so much more sense. Yes, it's not a Harley, which everybody, most everybody wants to own that iconic brand.
$4,750.
No. Wait a minute. That's the 310 GS.
Anyway, I'm going to fill the dead air.
Go ahead.
So yeah, not everybody wants.
to.
Everybody, most people want to own that iconic Harley brand. But when you're just starting out, or that, and I'm going to use this term, millennials who don't necessarily have that kind of money to make that kind of investment, that's a great way to start.
Yep.
You may not keep it forever, but it's going to get you out there. It's going to get you on the road, and you're either going to love it or hate it.
Yeah, $5,000. Yeah, $4,750 for that bike. So I mean, that's like completely doable. You do that, it's what, $200 a month for 60 months or something, and you're like done, right? It's not even that much.
I'd still be way preferred the Husqvarna.
Oh yeah,
I really would. I love the look of this bike, and I'd also like to be able to tell people that it's a Sweden-made motorcycle. That's my shit right there.
George,
Made in Sweden by Olga Lars, just for me.
So George the Painter says it's also the price of a great hooker.
Nah. I thought he was just going to tell us to shut the hell up.
And there we go. There's the differences in a generation right there. All right, moving on. Harley Davidson in the stocks. Subscription model could help Harley Davidson Inc. hog appeal to younger crowd.
Now, I have to say, I've been saying this, I think, for 2 years. If they actually do this, I think it's a good move.
Okay, tell me what.
They're talking about a lease program.
It's what Eagle Rider is doing. It's
right.
Club Eagle Rider is doing that right now. It's $29 a month or something. You get a day a month plus another one for your birthday. You can save them up for the year. It's total genius, but I don't know if it just hasn't gotten in the right hands. But I mean, if you look at people that are maybe hobbyists, motorcycle hobbyists, right? They like riding motorcycles, but they don't necessarily want to own one. Maybe they live in a city. Maybe they live in a place where it's not that great to ride a motorcycle. But when they go to a city, they want to be able to ride. I mean, Club Eagle Rider is doing that right now. And it sounds like Harley has a big piece of Eagle Rider as well.
Okay, so now explain this to me, because I'm not hip to this particular news story. So is this a lease model, or it's just a membership model like Eagle Rider? Like
no, so what he's suggesting is a lease.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. I think people have tried that over the years in the power sports industry. They've tried leasing. But the thing that I was actually more keyed in on that is the fact that all of the, if you scroll down a little bit, everyone that is a supposed stock market expert says sell Harley.
Yeah.
Like that is, and it's sheep, right? There's never going to be anyone that goes, unless they start seeing a bump in price, there's never going to be anybody that goes, oh no, it's a buy, and so it's not helping our industry. That's all I'm saying is there's people on the outside of our industry that are influencing our industry, and it's not helping.
Yeah.
And they're just taking numbers. They're just going, hey, numbers are down, and so that's how we're going to reflect, our position in it. But I don't know. It's pretty hard to tolerate when you look at a bunch of people who aren't in the industry saying what their opinion on it is, and having a huge influence.
Yeah.
So, I'm sure it's more complicated than that.
You know, it is, man, because the one thing that these analysts don't take into consideration is the entire history of a given market, its relationship to generational change, economic change, world trade change. You know, like just to say that something's down without addressing the theory behind it. You know.
Well, they put some theory into it, but some of it's just not. Yeah, you just look at it, you read it, and you're like, oh, maybe somebody who doesn't know about the motorcycle industry. Or they were talking about, you know, if repossessions go up, the motorcycles that they are repossessing are last year's models, which aren't, you know, Milwaukee 8s, and that makes them less valuable. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, that is such a less than 1% of 1%. You know, like it's yeah, I don't know. When I read that, I was like, "Oh, you guys don't know what you're talking
Thanks
about."
for coming.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and anyway, I didn't mean to get sour at the end, but stuff like that irks me because it's our industry. You know, we're the ones who should be making those decisions and influencing that, not a bunch of people on who probably aren't even on Wall Street. They're probably in their basement.
I'm so tired of the word influence, too.
I'm in my basement right now. So.
I'm ready to be over-influenced.
Yeah.
All right. I got something. I got something real quick. Yeah, it's time for some batshit crazy news. This is batshit crazy in the fact that how fast this new Instagram page is growing, and man, like, it's just a total shitstorm has started around this. So I'm talking about Hipster Proof. We told you guys about this. I gotta put it up there, dude. It's brilliant. Yes. It's brilliant because, like I said, the first week that we talked about this, a culture is only able to be judged by its ability to laugh at itself. And these guys are helping us with that. That's for sure. Mm-hmm. And you see, like, one of the coolest things is, man, when you see some of the stuff that goes on up here and the guy that they actually have in the picture that they're making fun of joins in, that's what I'm talking about. You know, like, just take a minute and laugh at some of the stuff that we do because we're funny. We're funny people that are addicted to this social media craze. And these guys are taking advantage of that. There's some of it that's just absolutely brutal. If you don't know about Hipster Proof, go check it out.
So I think it's existed for maybe 2 weeks now, and they have just shy of 3,000 followers.
And
let's blow that up, please.
It's good shit. Blow what up?
I want to see more of it. Yeah, okay. So good. So good.
Yeah, buddy.
There.
I like I think one of my favorite ones, and I tend to be on the more reserved side, so I think some of them are overly harsh, but I really like the one with, like, the ginormous D-rake misfit atrocity.
That's this here. And this is great because, you know, like I said, when you see one of the guys that the picture is about laughing at himself, so this is one of our writers, Jimmy.
That's his bike.
Jimmy Suicide. And he gets in and he makes as much fun of it as everyone else does, you know?
But what people also don't understand...
Stop taking yourself so seriously, dude.
Jimmy's like 6'9". Yeah. For real, he is. I mean, he will be able to ride this motorcycle. He's ginormous.
By the time he sits on it, I guarantee it's not going to look as big as it is. You know? He's huge. He's taller than George the Painter.
That's funny.
So, yeah, a lot of good stuff happening here. Hey, douchebag, you're a douchebag. But...
Which never mind, I'm not going to say anything.
Go check it out for yourself. Those guys are good enough to spend the time, whoever they
have
are.
They have one of Mad Stork's pictures up there.
No, they do not.
Yeah, they do.
The naked girl.
The picture of the girl. The picture of the one of the girl.
Oh, there we go. There we go. So, good old-fashioned fun. Go check it out. Yeah. Also, coming up this weekend, the Hand-Built Show is finally here. Some of Texas' finest. Hit them up on their website.
Country's finest.
Yeah, right on, dude. Yeah. Right on. I love watching this show from year to year. What else we got? I think we're running out the door.
I don't know, man.
Why don't you
That's all
talk
I
about
got.
the new issue you have in your hand?
There we
Ooh.
go.
I want to see that.
Brand spanking new.
And it's hot off the presses. So this month's Cycle Source magazine hitting newsstands in about a week. It's our Daytona issue. Great chopper from Bill Dodge on the front of that thing. He built that for Mr. Kelderman. Sons of Speed. Ken's got a ton of stuff in here. Your Rye helmet launch.
I know. Maybe we should just call it this Ken Conti's
This
issue.
is the Ken Conti issue. That's not kidding. So, Xavier doing the whole Sons of Speed bit. It's a great issue. In about a week, you can pick this up on newsstands everywhere.
Nice. Subscribers should be getting it any day now.
Any day
Yep.
now.
Absolutely.
And that's our little
I look
plug for
forward
the
to it.
magazine. I hate doing that because it seems like shameless promotion, but
You're doing this show for free. Don't know if you know that or not. It's actually costing you money. So
it's all right. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. I like this.
Can
I
you-
think we're lucky men to be able to get on and give our opinion about things that go on in our industry, because who really gives a rat's ass what we think?
nobody, actually, is what I found.
Right on.
All right. Next week, I'm hoping to have some new technology. I'm hoping to have the mic a little bit closer to me so we don't have echo. Maybe a different camera. I'm going to dial things up a little bit.
Right on. Oh, we've been bringing it along, man. We really have.
Trying to.
Week after week, we get a little bit better at this thing. You guys give us some more feedback. I'm not sure where the time slot goes from here, but I can tell you things are going to get a little hectic, because right after Leesburg, Heather and I have to start building another motorcycle. And this, my poor wife, this is my poor wife.
Hey guys, this is Heather
Scrubbing
with
a
Cycle Source
transmission the
Magazine,
other
Racing
day.
Gears TV. It is Sunday, April 8th
Because
here in Western
we kind of do things
Pennsylvania,
the
and I'm
old-fashioned
not sure if
chopper
you can see it,
way.
but
Like,
it's snowing
we're
out.
just going to build this bike from the
But
parts
anyway,
we have.
what else do you do
And
on
it
a
starts with
cold,
this
snowy day in Western
breezy
Pennsylvania?
transmission.
We're going to
that
clean up this transmission.
We're literally
Chris and I have
just,
been
and we've
fortunate
torn it
enough to
apart.
been
We're getting the
invited
case powder coated. We're going to
Michael
rebuild the
Victor
tranny
Sylvester,
and
just this
save a
year,
bunch of money
Passionville.
there.
So we have bought a 77
So-
shovelhead donor bike.
That was Heather. Poor Heather out in the snow scrubbing a transmission so that we could tear it apart. Yup,
It's a good wife right there.
But I learned how to tear a transmission apart.
that's right.
There you go.
And that's why I married her. Real quick from the tool vault, I want to bring you guys up to speed on a tool that we're using in the shop almost all the time now. I absolutely love this thing. People from Clamp Tight put
Hey,
this
this is Chris
product
with
out.
Cycle Source Magazine, Grease and Gears TV. We're here live at the 2017 AIM Expo. I'm with Nikki at Clamp Tight, and man, I found something for you garage nuts that you got to come and check out. Listen, as soon as I came up to this booth, I bought one of these immediately. I am one of the tightest bastards you ever meet. I had to have this tool. I had to bring it and show you guys. So, Nikki, tell everybody about Clamp Tight, because this is changing my garage experience.
It definitely will. So this is a great tool. It's making hose clamps out of wire, 10 times stronger, 90% lighter. So basically what you do is you can use any type of wire. You can use baling wire, MIG wire, aviation wire, even a coat hanger if you want to. So let me show you how it works. I'll take my wire. What you're going to do is you take the ends and bring them together and make a loop. Then you're going to feed those ends through the loop, pull it tight. Then you're going to do that one more time, the exact same way around, right up through the center of the first one, just like so. Go through, make sure you're not cross or twisted, because you want a nice even seal all the way around. Then I'm going to take the tool, take the nose of the tool, push it right up underneath of that loop, wrap it up and around each of the pegs, and then you're going to twist that together like a bread tie. Okay? So you just turn until you get to the tightness you want it to be, and you're going to feel it. It's going to start getting hard to turn, as well as biting down on your project. So now you're ready to close that off. If you're up against an engine or a firewall or a tight space, just past 90 degrees is all you need. Cut the wire on either side, the tool's going to drop away. The tab's left standing, you're going to bend over, and that's the clamp. If you have the space, you have 180 degrees all the way over, then you're going to loosen it, pull the tool away, take your cutters, cut about 1/4 of an inch or so, bend those tabs down, and that is your hose clamp.
And I'll tell you what, the real benefit.
Now, this is the coolest thing about that. Anybody that's hip to speed wiring, hose clamps, anything you have to do for racing motorcycles, you know that like the more you spin that wire, the more it breaks down the strength of the wire. You know what I mean? This thing doesn't actually spin the wire at all. It just pulls those wires tight against itself and bends it over. So it's a killer tool. It's actually, some of that speed wiring is not actually sanctioned for some racing. This is. It's super easy to use. I think it was $100 or something to buy the tool, and it came with spools of wire and all kind of stuff. So I wanted to pull this out, but I had this footage from the AIM Expo in 2017, but as we were finishing up the War Pony, we used this on almost everything, because the War Pony, obviously, we said we're taking to Bonneville at the end of the year, and we're getting that ready by doing all our speed wiring and everything, and that's, this will actually get through tech. So
nice.
Great tool.
That's awesome.
I was just reminded about it, and I wanted to bring that up.
Ron, how many cups of coffee did you have before you went into that booth? You were amped.
Hey, man.
Holy moly, Chris.
Listen,
Hey, I'm here.
We had an actual booth at AIM Expo, and there's nothing to do when you're in the booth but talk to people and drink coffee. So that's what I did.
He had his little, Billy Mays Hayes?
Hey, Billy Mays Hayes here. Hey, the new guy that took Billy Mays' job, did anyone else notice that it's the same guy that did the voice for the new Frosty the Snowman? Swear to God, next time that commercial comes on, I'm telling you, it's the guy that did, not original Frosty, second generation Frosty. It's that voice.
I think I'll take his coffee away now, Ken.
Yeah, squirrel.
Squirrel. Heather, we got anything else from social media before we clear out?
No. Although George did just want to make it clear that Jimmy may be taller than him, but he's not as pretty.
That's disturbing.
I don't know. Did anybody see that picture of George when George was young?
Yeah, George was a hot piece
George
of ass.
was hot when he was young,
yeah.
not going to lie.
Yep. He hides it under the hair now so he can be disgruntled. All right. So I want to tell everybody thanks again for tuning in to a week of Shop Talk, 90 minutes of all the bullshit we can fit. Thanks to Roland Sands, all of our sponsors, JP Cycle, Dennis Kirk this week's S&S, Michael Lichter's Passion Built,
Progressive Motorcycle
Insurance. We're heading down to Leesburg with Progressive. Look for us there. Keep up on the Twisted T bike that we're building, the T Tracker. You can go to Twisted T. I forgot to do that.
Unwind with a twist.
You can go to Twisted T's website and sign up for a chance to win that motorcycle for free. You have to put a picture of how you unwind with a twist and put that specific hashtag in, and you're entered. And that's all I got for this week.
You can check out my podcasts, 4e2w.com, the number 4, the letter E, the number 2, the letter W.com. Lots of podcasts up. We put this up, should be up in a couple days, so if you didn't get to catch it all, you can catch it, the audio version. And I am Ken, and we are
out.